Welcome to the Sovereign Kitchen Society. I am Molly Bravo, and today I am so excited to share with you this topic because it is a topic that I think we're all going to be able to relate to, and that is what the war in the Middle East is meaning for our grocery store and what we can do about it. I want to welcome you. If you're new here, I am so glad that you found this show. As I said, I'm Molly Bravo. This is the Sovereign Kitchen Society, and it is a podcast about one thing and one thing only, and that is reclaiming your ability to feed your family no matter what it looks like. So what we're talking about today is real food, old world skills, and the kind of practical kitchen wisdom that used to be passed down through the generations. And now, you guys, I am telling you that this is at serious risk of being lost. So over here, we are not preppers, we're not doomsdayers, we are simply people who believe that knowing how to nourish your family is probably one of the most important things that you can know. And right now, most of us have completely outsourced that ability to a system that we have zero control over. Today, we're going to talk about why this matters, and it matters now more than ever. So let's get into it. Now, on February 28th of this year, as we all know, there was a conflict that broke out in the Middle East. It has escalated. Crude oil is the target. And the oil that typically gets passed through the Strait of Hormuz is in jeopardy. So it's this tiny little narrow waterway that's in the Persian Gulf. There's usually like 20 million barrels of oil that get passed through every single day. And just like to give you reference, that's about 20% of the global petroleum consumption that people use daily. So when that conflict escalated, oil basically dropped. We're talking like 10% of normal levels. 400 million barrels were in jeopardy. Now, the United States separately released 172 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but as of this recording, crude oil is probably sitting at around $94 a barrel right now. Now, that's roughly 50% higher than what it was at the start of this year. You're probably asking, well, what does this have to do with the price of the tea in China? And as a matter of fact, it has everything to do with our kitchen and with how we choose to eat. Because oil is not just what goes into your car. Oil is how food gets to you. Trucks move around the country, big freight trucks. They provide all of our food to grocery stores. And every single thing in our grocery store, it arrives in a diesel-powered truck. So when diesel prices spike, then of course our food prices are going to spike. Food prices at the beginning of this year were up by 3%. It's been a year-over-year thing. And as we walked into 2026, we have already been paying an arm and a leg. And now that we have this energy shock, on top of that, things are even more stressed. Prices are rising. People are freaking out. And it's probably going to get worse before it actually gets better. The average grocery store, you guys, it only carries like 3 days worth of food. And we remember what happened in 2020. The shelves were emptying out in like 72 hours. People were panicked. People were panic buying. A sustained energy disruption is totally different. So it doesn't actually cause the empty shelves just in like one small day. What it ends up doing is it thins out the system over time. So you have shorter store hours. Maybe you have intermittent blackouts. Maybe you have intermittent blockouts or stockouts. higher prices on everything across the board. And then you have items that just kind of start disappearing one by one. Maybe it's the perishables, the meats, the dairy, the fresh produce. And then it's the convenience foods that end up disappearing. We all know that there is refrigeration issues. Grocery stores run on almost entirely 100% electricity. So refrigeration alone accounts for like 38% of a store's total energy use. If the power becomes intermittent, even just temporarily, that cold chain ends up breaking. And when the cold chain breaks, of course, the food safety becomes an issue, which is like an immediate problem. So I'm not telling you this to send you into some tailspin spiral. I'm only telling you this because I want you to be prepared and I want you to understand how the system works and how fragile it really is so that you're not sticking your head in the sand. And I do not want you to be caught by surprise. Now, I would like to just take one quick moment to tell you about something that I have specifically built for exactly what we're talking about today. And that is the 7-day grocery leak fix. It's this teeny itty bitty course, okay, online that is going to help you plug your grocery leaks. Now, the reason that this is important in this day and age is because I want you to be able to save as much money as you can. I want you to get out of the grocery store as much as possible if you're able to. I want you to not rely on a middleman to feed you or to feed your family. So this grocery leak fix is so cool because I have created a calculator. It's a food calculator, and it will show you how much money you can save every month if you start making small changes to get out of the grocery store and to start sourcing differently. I'm going to teach you how to source local. I'm going to teach you how to meet your farmers. I'm going to teach you how to save a minimum of $50 per week. I bet I could get it up to $150 a week, if not more, depending on how much and how often you eat out. So it is so appropriate, so cool, so helpful for where we're at in this day and age. The second thing that I want to share with you, which I'm really stoked about and is so appropriate for this day and age, is the Essential Canning Cookbook. The Essential Canning Cookbook is a soup to nuts approach on food preservation and canning. It is for the absolute beginner that has no clue what they're doing. I want to show you how to preserve your food. I want to show you how to source your food locally, how to get the best of the best ingredients so that you can be prepared if anything were to happen. And guess what? If nothing happens, you're totally fine, you're set, and you're prepared. It's like a total win-win. Okay, so with that being said, thank you so much for listening to that brief interruption. Let's get back to what we're actually talking about because there's quite a bit that I want to share with you. The first thing, let's talk about a pantry. Let's talk about what is actually in your control. Now, our great-grandmothers pretty much all had root cellars, and in those root cellars is where they would keep their pantry. That pantry was filled with all kinds of canned goods, foods that didn't require refrigeration, foods that were kept in wood chips so that they wouldn't go bad, that were picked fresh from the garden. Our great-grandparents didn't rely on grocery stores. They got all of their ingredients in bulk, they preserved what they could, and they worked with what they had. So opposite from what we're doing in modern day time. They weren't worried about supply chain disruptions because they didn't have a supply chain. So I want you to think about what would happen if we didn't have to worry about a supply chain. I want you to start simple. I want you to focus on purchasing bulk items such as rice, flour, dried beans, oats, olive oil, salt, herbs, seasonings, things that are going to make your food taste good. Those are pretty much like the staples that you always need to have on hand. As of February of 2026, dried beans are running at about $1.70 per pound, and flour is running at about 55 cents per pound. So these are some of the cheapest calories per dollar that you're going to be able to source in order to feed yourself and feed your family. And they stay for years, by the way, which is super helpful. I want you to aim for a 30-day supply. And if you can, it would be even better if you could get like a 6-month supply, because who knows how long we might need to be eating from our pantry. The second thing that I want you to do is to learn to source outside of the grocery store, even if it's just partially, okay? You don't need to make some drastic life changes here. But what I want you to do is learn how to find local farms. I want you to find a CSA. I want you to make friends with a rancher that you can buy a quarter cow from. I want you to source food that isn't going to have to run through some industrial supply chain. This isn't about going off grid. It's not about going rogue or like totally breaking out of the matrix. I don't want to break your brain. I just want you to be prepared, and I want you to have resources available in case something were to happen. Because when the store is short on beef or chicken, you don't need to worry, because you have a chest freezer that is full of frozen proteins. When your prices are going to spike on produce because farmers don't have the proper gasoline or oil that they need to run their farms and prices shoot through the roof, you have a local CSA or a farmer's market that you know that you can get to source your produce. And by the way, total win-win, you end up getting way better ingredients than you would ever get at the grocery store. You know, community is how people used to survive. It's how people have made it through hard times for many, many years. Your great-grandparents knew their neighbors. How many of you guys are friends with your neighbors? Seriously. Our great-grandparents, they shared their harvests. They traded skills. It was imperative that they had these skills that they could trade and barter with their neighbors, because that is how they got by in hard times. That's how they learned to survive. They leaned upon one another. It's just like raising kids. You need a full village in order to raise a child, to have a thriving community and a thriving environment in which you're not panicked about what is happening in the world outside of your immediate environment. Things like canning, fermentation, dehydrating, I want you to pick one, because if the power goes out, let's say the power goes out tomorrow, and your freezer starts to thaw, are you going to know how to prepare all of the proteins that are in your freezer so that that stuff doesn't go bad? If produce prices end up doubling next month, are you going to know how to purchase all of that produce in bulk based on seasonality and not have to worry about it going bad, because you know how to can your food? These are the skills that I want you to start thinking about and learning, just like one skill at a time, you know, so that you're prepared. And then the fourth thing that I really want you to pay attention to, and this is probably the thing that most people end up skipping, is what are you going to do if the power goes out? Are you prepared? Do you have a generator? Do you have a solar powered backup of some sort so that if your refrigeration goes out, you don't need to worry as much? If you have a full freezer, knowing that it only stays for about 48 hours, are you going to have a plan in place? You can think about preparing your meals like by providing yourself or your family with a camp stove that has proper ventilation. Obviously, you don't want to use it indoors, but you can always use it outside. Do you have a cooler that you could fill with ice? Do you have a clear sequence of what to eat first and in what order, just in case the power does go out, so that you're not squandering food and nothing goes to waste? These are all the things that we want to be thinking about in these super tumultuous times so that we are not trying to figure it out in the moment. We have been told so many times that this is the moment. This is it. This is the world is ending. This is when we need to stock up and we need to hunker down. And I understand that it's exhausting and that we have this alarm fatigue. That's a very real thing. But I also want to give you a different frame and a different perspective. What I'm asking you to do has really nothing to do with fear. It has everything to do with sovereignty and being prepared and being able to support your family. Your great-grandmother did not have a grocery store on every corner. She didn't have DoorDash. She didn't have a debit card that was linked to an account that could be frozen, or a supply chain that could be disrupted, or a food system that required diesel trucks to travel across the country or across the world to get you your food. She had a community. And because of all of these things that we've been talking about, your great-grandmother was able to feed her family without panic. So that is what I want for you. I don't want you to be afraid. I don't want you to stockpile that, like having it driven by panic. I want you to learn skills. I want you to build a pantry that is built with intention. I want you to get to know your community, to start building community with like-minded people so that you guys can support one another. Because if anything were to happen out there, our community and our families are all we have. We don't want to have to do this alone. That is the essence of sovereignty in a nutshell. And it's available to every single person that is listening to this right now. I want to thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for being a part of the Sovereign Kitchen Society. Truly, if you are new to the show, I really hope that you found something of value. I hope that you recognize the urgency in the message that I'm sharing, not so that you have to be afraid, but so that you can be prepared for whatever happens, so that you can protect yourself and so that you can protect your family, so that you can eat well and thrive. If this episode moved you in any way, would you please do me a favor? Would you please leave a review? I know that it sounds small, but even the smallest, simplest review is the opportunity for somebody that has not heard us to find this message, to build community, and to learn these old world skills. It is so important. That's how other people who need this information end up finding us. It's going to take you like 60 seconds max, but it will change everything for this community. And to everyone who has been here, to the ones that have been listening since the very beginning, who have been cooking with me, preserving with me, building your pantry from the ground up and learning these old world skills, thank you. How awesome is that you're learning independence and sovereignty, and you're able to pass that information on to the next person who needs it. That's how we're going to rapidly heal this planet, you guys. It starts one person at a time. And we're able to spread the light, spread the love, help as many people as we can. That's what it's all about. I want you to remember that food is and always will be our medium for connection. It is the one thing that gathers us around tables, passes wisdom between generations, and reminds us that we belong here on this planet in nature with each other. That's what we're doing, one kitchen at a time. I'm Molly Bravo. This is the Sovereign Kitchen Society. I will see you next week. Thank you.